This is Mike. Mike is not a millionaire. He's not a celebrity. He doesn't own a mansion. He doesn't have a private jet. In fact, Mike is just an ordinary person living an ordinary life. His alarm goes off at 6:30 in the morning. The room is the perfect temperature. Not too cold. Not too hot. Mike walks into the bathroom. Hot water arrives instantly. He doesn't need to chop wood. He doesn't need to start a fire. He doesn't need to carry buckets. He simply turns a handle. A few minutes later, his coffee is ready. The food is already stored. The electricity is already flowing. Everything works at the push of a button. Mike gets into his car and drives to work. He doesn't need to walk for miles. He doesn't need to cross muddy roads. He doesn't need to face rain or snow. He arrives at the office dry, clean, and comfortable. Throughout the day, he works in a climate-controlled building. The temperature remains stable. The lighting never changes. The water is clean. Food is only a few steps away. Most of his work consists of answering messages, attending meetings, and moving information from one screen to another. When the workday ends, Mike returns home. He doesn't need to hunt. He doesn't need to farm. He doesn't need to build. If he doesn't feel like cooking, someone can deliver a prepared meal directly to his door. If he's bored, he has instant access to more entertainment than any king in history could consume in a lifetime. Movies, music, games, videos, all available immediately. Then Mike goes to sleep. And tomorrow, he'll do it all again. To Mike, this feels normal. But it isn't. If you showed this routine to almost any human being who lived 100, 500, or 1,000 years ago, it would look like something close to magic. Most of what Mike considers ordinary would have been seen as unimaginable luxury throughout nearly all of human history. And that represents one of civilization's greatest achievements. Never before have we enjoyed so much comfort. Never before have we had so much convenience. Never before have we possessed so many tools capable of reducing effort, pain, and uncertainty. But there is a question we rarely ask. What if the same things that make life more comfortable are also making us weaker because something curious has happened? The more comfortable life has become, the lower our tolerance for discomfort seems to be. Maybe that isn't a coincidence. Maybe there is something civilization removed without realizing it. Something that, for thousands of years, helped develop discipline, resilience, and self-control. Something called friction. And to understand why comfort may be making us weaker, we first need to understand the role difficulty played in building the human being. It's important to make one thing clear. This is not a video about how the past was better. It wasn't. For most of human history, life was harsh. Hunger was common. Simple illnesses could be fatal. Physical labor was exhausting, child mortality was high. No one should wish to return to that world. But there is an important difference between recognizing the achievements of civilization and ignoring its side effects. Because for thousands of years, something was present in nearly every human activity. Friction. Getting food required effort. Travel required effort. Learning a skill required effort. Building something valuable required effort. Difficulty wasn't optional. It was built into the structure of life. And without realizing it, that constant difficulty trained capacities that we still admire today. Patience. Resilience. Self-control. Discipline. Responsibility. The ability to endure discomfort. Imagine a farmer 200 years ago. If he didn't work, he didn't eat. If he failed to plan ahead, his family would suffer during the winter. If he neglected his tools, his productivity would decline. Reality imposed immediate consequences for a lack of responsibility. Life itself acted as a teacher. A harsh teacher, but an extremely effective one. Today, we tend to think of friction as something negative. Something that should be eliminated. A line. A delay. An extra effort. An obstacle. But perhaps we're confusing discomfort with harm. Not every difficulty is a problem. Some difficulties are training. And something even deeper is happening. Many of the qualities we admire in other human beings only exist because resistance exists. Think for a moment about what we call virtue. What does self-control actually mean? It means resisting an impulse. What does discipline mean? It means doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. What does courage mean? It means acting despite fear. What does faithfulness mean? It means remaining committed even when temptation is available. A hungry man chooses not to eat the dessert. An attractive man remains faithful to his wife despite opportunities to do otherwise. A tired person gets out of bed on a cold morning to train. A student closes social media and returns to studying. An investor saves money when spending it would be more enjoyable. In every one of these situations, there is a common pattern. A force pulling in one direction. And a conscious decision made in the opposite direction. It is precisely that resistance that makes virtue possible. Without temptation, there is no self-control. Without fear, there is no courage. Without difficulty, there is no resilience. Without sacrifice, there is no discipline. Perhaps that is why friction played such an important role throughout human history. It created daily opportunities to practice self-government. It forced people to choose between what was easy and what was necessary. Between immediate pleasure and future benefit. Between present comfort and future security. And every time someone made that choice, something invisible grew stronger. Their ability to command themselves, and perhaps that is exactly what we begin to lose when difficulty is no longer an unavoidable part of life. Because for thousands of years, reality trained these capacities automatically. Today, that training has become a choice. And that shift has changed far more than we realize. Throughout history, humanity has done something extraordinary. We solved problems. Problems that burdened our ancestors for thousands of years. We reduced hunger. We reduced disease. We reduced the amount of effort required to perform everyday tasks. We built machines to carry heavy loads. Vehicles to shorten distances. Systems to deliver water, energy, and information. In many ways, the history of civilization is the history of reducing difficulty. And that is an achievement. But every solution changes behavior. Every tool creates new incentives. And every convenience changes the way we interact with the world. Think about Mike's daily life. When he's hungry, he doesn't need to cook. A few taps on a screen and someone prepares the meal for him. When he's bored, he doesn't need to create something. He doesn't need to have a conversation. He doesn't need to sit alone with his thoughts. An endless supply of entertainment is waiting for his attention. When he wants to buy something, he doesn't need to save for months. Credit is available instantly. When he wants information, he doesn't need to spend hours researching. A search delivers the answer in seconds. Every one of these inventions solves a problem. But together they create an environment completely different from the one in which human beings spent most of their existence. An environment where almost every form of discomfort can be avoided. Almost every delay can be eliminated. Almost every effort can be outsourced. Almost every frustration can be numbed immediately. And that leads us to an important question. What happens when a species shaped by resistance begins living in an environment without resistance? Imagine a muscle. When it faces progressively heavier loads, it grows stronger. But when every load is removed, it grows weaker. Not because there is something wrong with the muscle, but because adaptation is a response to challenge. The same principle appears throughout nature. The immune system must encounter threats in order to develop. Skills must be practiced in order to be maintained. Capabilities must be used in order to remain strong. Why would discipline be any different? Why would self-control be any different? Why would the ability to endure discomfort be any different? Perhaps it isn't. Perhaps human beings are subject to the same rule. Capabilities that are not used begin to weaken. Virtues that are not practiced begin to disappear. And for the first time in history, millions of people live in environments where the path of least resistance is available almost all the time. The escalator replaces the stairs. Food delivery replaces cooking. Streaming replaces silence. Credit replaces saving. Instant gratification replaces waiting. Individually, none of these things seem significant. But together, they create something entirely new. An environment where difficulty becomes optional. And when difficulty becomes optional, growth becomes optional as well. Because what was once trained automatically now depends on a conscious choice. And not everyone is prepared to make that choice. There is a principle so simple that it almost seems obvious. And yet, we spend much of our lives trying to escape it. Everything that grows stronger does so through resistance. Think about a muscle. When you walk into a gym, the goal is not to avoid resistance. The goal is to find it. You seek weight. You seek difficulty. You seek discomfort. Because you understand that muscle does not grow despite resistance. It grows because of it. Resistance sends a message to the body. You will need to become stronger than you are today. And then adaptation begins. But this principle does not apply only to the body. It appears in almost every area of life. A skill improves only when it is practiced. A mind develops only when it is challenged. A business becomes stronger only when it solves difficult problems. A relationship matures only when it overcomes hardship. Why would human character be any different? Perhaps it isn't. Perhaps the qualities we admire in people follow the exact same rule. Discipline, courage, patience, resilience, self-control. All of them seem to emerge from the same source. Resistance. Think again about courage. A person is not courageous because they have never felt fear. They are courageous because they act despite it. Without fear, courage cannot exist. The same is true of discipline. A disciplined person does not do the right thing because everything is easy. They do the right thing when a more pleasant alternative is available. Without temptation, there is no discipline. Without discomfort, there is no perseverance. Without sacrifice, there is no self-control. Virtue is not the absence of difficulty. Virtue is how we respond to difficulty. If you look at the lives of many extraordinary people, a pattern begins to emerge. Not all of them, but many. They endured some form of significant resistance. Poverty, instability, failure, immigration, war, dysfunctional families, early responsibility. Not because those things are desirable, but because they often demand the development of capacities that excessively comfortable environments rarely require. Consider the case of Novak Djokovic. During his childhood in Serbia, he lived through the effects of the conflicts that shook the Balkans. While many young athletes were growing up in stable environments, Djokovic trained under extremely difficult circumstances. There are accounts of him practicing in an empty swimming pool that had been converted into a makeshift tennis court during some of the most turbulent periods in the region, and yet, he developed the discipline and resilience that would later help him become one of the greatest tennis players in history. Or think about Sean Strickland. He has described a childhood marked by violence, instability, and an abusive alcoholic father. None of that was good. None of it should be romanticized. But surviving that environment demanded an unusual level of psychological toughness. The point is not that suffering creates success. The point is that resistance creates adaptation. And many exceptional people were forced to develop that adaptation long before everyone else. Perhaps that is why so many success stories contain chapters of hardship. Not because hardship is good, but because confronting resistance often develops capacities that remain useful for the rest of life. Perhaps that is why so many philosophical traditions valued voluntary challenges. Not because suffering was the goal, but because they understood something fundamental about human nature. Resistance develops capacities that comfort cannot. A life completely free of obstacles sounds appealing in theory. But there is a problem. When we remove every challenge, we also remove opportunities for growth. The muscle that never encounters weight becomes weaker. The mind that never encounters difficulty becomes weaker. The character that never encounters resistance becomes weaker as well. And perhaps that is exactly what we are beginning to observe. Not a crisis of comfort, but a crisis of adaptation. Because for most of human history, life provided enough resistance to keep certain capacities sharp. Today, many of those resistances have disappeared. But the need for those capacities has not. We still need discipline. We still need courage. We still need patience. We still need self-control. The difference is that now we must train them deliberately. And that requires something the modern world rarely encourages. The willingness to choose the harder path when the easier one is available. But perhaps the most important consequence is not weakness. Perhaps it is dependency. Because there is a difference between using a tool and depending on one. Tools expand capabilities. Dependency replaces capabilities. Let's return to Mike. Mike wakes up and reaches for his phone. His phone tells him where to go. It shows him the weather. It delivers the news. It tells him what to buy, what to watch, what to think about the events of the day. If his food delivery is delayed, he becomes irritated. If the internet goes down, he feels lost. If his phone battery dies, he feels uneasy. None of this seems particularly serious. But something interesting is happening. Little by little, capabilities that once belonged to the individual are being outsourced. Memory is outsourced. Navigation is outsourced. Entertainment is outsourced. Attention is outsourced. Even the ability to tolerate boredom is outsourced. And the less a capability is used, the weaker it becomes. Think about someone who never cooks. Eventually, they lose the skill. Think about someone who never walks. Eventually, they lose conditioning. Think about someone who never experiences silence. Eventually, they lose the ability to be alone with their own thoughts. The issue is not technology. It was never technology. The question is what happens when convenience begins replacing fundamental human competencies. Because convenience and freedom are not the same thing. In fact, they sometimes point in opposite directions. A person who cannot go a day without sugar is not free. A person who cannot go an hour without checking their phone is not free. A person who cannot control their spending impulses is not free. A person who requires constant comfort in order to feel okay is not free either. They have become dependent on the conditions around them. And dependency always reduces agency. There is a simple way to test this idea. Ask yourself, what would happen if all these conveniences disappeared for a few days? No internet. No GPS. No food delivery. No fully stocked grocery stores. No electricity. No running water. Mike would probably still be a good person. He would still be intelligent. He would still have good intentions. But would he be capable? Would he know how to produce food, repair equipment, heat his home, navigate without an app, handle a week of scarcity? Maybe not. And that is the point. The more we depend on external systems to perform basic functions, the more vulnerable we become when those systems fail. Fragility rarely reveals itself during times of abundance. It reveals itself during interruption, during crisis, during scarcity, during the unexpected. That is when we discover the difference between comfort and capability, between convenience and competence, between dependency and sovereignty. Think about the people we admire most. Explorers, entrepreneurs, Inventors, builders, athletes, pioneers. They all shared something in common. And it wasn't comfort. It was capability. The ability to act even when conditions were not ideal. The ability to endure difficulty. The ability to solve problems. The ability to keep moving forward when quitting would have been easier. That is the essence of agency. Not controlling the world, but remaining functional when the world refuses to cooperate. Perhaps that is why excessive comfort is so dangerous. It does not imprison us with chains. It imprisons us with conveniences. It does not demand immediate surrender. Only small acts of dependency accumulated over years. Until one day, we realize something uncomfortable. Most of the things that make our lives easier have also become things we believe we cannot live without. And when that happens, something precious begins to disappear. Our ability to govern ourselves. At this point, someone might ask a reasonable question. If comfort can create dependency, then what is the alternative? Should we reject technology, return to living like our ancestors, turn life into a permanent search for suffering? Of course not. This is not a video against comfort, nor against convenience, nor against progress. The question is something else entirely. Perhaps we have defined freedom the wrong way. When most people think about freedom, they imagine the absence of restrictions. The ability to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. But there is a problem with that definition. Because many people who do exactly what they want are not free. A person who cannot control their consumption is not free. A person who cannot resist their impulses is not free. A person who cannot stay away from their phone is not free. A person who requires constant comfort in order to feel okay is not free. They have merely exchanged one prison for another. Perhaps true freedom is something different. Perhaps freedom is the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Perhaps freedom is the ability to act according to your principles rather than your impulses. Perhaps freedom is maintaining control when the environment around you is trying to decide for you. Consider the story of Hank. Hank spent years working for the Studebaker Corporation in South Bend, Indiana. The pay was good. The region was thriving. Most people believed those jobs would last forever. But every month, Hank did something simple. He saved roughly 20% of his paycheck. Not because he was wealthy. Not because he possessed special knowledge. But because he understood that spending everything he earned would make him dependent on the next paycheck. While some of his co-workers bought bigger cars, took on more debt, and spent every dollar available, Hank kept saving. For years, that decision looked like a limitation. It looked like less freedom, less comfort, less consumption. Then reality changed. Factories began to close. Jobs disappeared. The prosperity that once seemed permanent revealed itself to be temporary. Many people discovered they were trapped. Trapped by their paycheck. Trapped by debt. Trapped by the need to accept whatever opportunity appeared first. But Hank possessed something different. Time. He had built a reserve. He didn't need to panic. He didn't need to accept the first offer that came along. He could evaluate options. Make plans. Choose. Eventually, he found a better opportunity in Florida and rebuilt his life on his own terms. The same discipline that appeared to restrict his freedom years earlier ultimately created freedom when it mattered most. Because discipline is not the opposite of freedom. Discipline is often the price of freedom. The ability to give up something today in exchange for more options tomorrow. And this principle extends far beyond money. It appears in health, in relationships, in skills, in character, in nearly everything worth building. Consider two people. The first eats whatever they want whenever they feel like it. The second is capable of saying no. Which one is truly more free? The first appears more free. But the second possesses choice. The first obeys an impulse. The second commands it. The same principle applies to money, to work, to entertainment, to relationships, to nearly every area of life. Freedom is not the absence of limits. Freedom is the ability to choose your limits consciously. That is why so many philosophical traditions connected freedom with self-mastery. The ancient Stoics understood this. Many religious traditions understood it. Many of history's great builders understood it. A person incapable of governing themselves will struggle to govern anything else. Because every form of sovereignty begins with personal sovereignty. And perhaps that is exactly what is missing from the modern conversation about freedom. We have spent decades trying to eliminate every form of discomfort. But we rarely ask a more important question. Are we becoming more free or merely more dependent on perfect conditions in order to function? Because there is an enormous difference between living with comfort and needing it. And the distance between those two things may determine how much control we truly have over our own lives. The good news is that you do not need to abandon civilization to reclaim your agency. You do not need to live in a cabin. You do not need to reject technology. You do not need to turn your life into a permanent test of suffering. In fact, the solution is much simpler. Reintroduce small doses of resistance into your life. Let's return to Mike. Mike does not need to quit his job. He does not need to sell everything he owns. He does not need to disappear into the mountains. He simply needs to practice something his ancestors did every day. Facing discomfort. Voluntarily. Because there is an important difference between imposed suffering and chosen discomfort. Imposed suffering creates resentment. Chosen discomfort creates growth. When Mike takes the stairs instead of the elevator, nothing dramatic happens. When he walks instead of driving a short distance, nothing dramatic happens. When he trains despite not feeling like it, nothing dramatic happens. When he reads a challenging book instead of consuming passive entertainment, nothing dramatic happens. But something invisible begins to happen. He is training his ability to act against inertia. Against impulse. Against the automatic pull toward the easiest path. And that training accumulates. Just as a muscle is not built in a single workout, character is not built in a single decision. It is built through thousands of small choices. Choices that almost nobody sees. Choices that earn no applause. Choices that seem insignificant in the moment. But over the years, they produce a completely different person. But what does this look like in practice? It does not need to be extreme. In fact, the simpler it is, the better. Maybe it means attending a boxing class, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, or some other challenging activity 3 times a week. Not just for the exercise, but because you are learning to deal with effort, discomfort, and frustration. Maybe it means developing the habit of reading for 30 minutes every day. Even when there is an easier video to watch. Even when there is a more stimulating social media feed waiting to be opened. Maybe it means limiting dessert to once a week. Not because sugar is the great enemy of humanity, but because every time you say no to an immediate impulse, you strengthen your ability to choose. Maybe it means saving part of your paycheck before spending anything. Waking up a little earlier. Learning a difficult skill. Having conversations you have been avoiding. Solving problems instead of escaping from them. The specific examples matter less than the principle. The question is not, what is more comfortable? The question is, what makes me more capable? Because the goal is not to accumulate suffering. The goal is to develop competence. To develop agency. To develop the ability to keep moving forward even when the path is not pleasant. And that ability is built the same way every other ability is built. Through repetition. Think again about Hank. When he saved part of his paycheck every month, it looked like a restriction. But in reality, it was training. Training in self-control. Training in low time preference. Training in independence. Think again about great athletes. Entrepreneurs. Explorers. builders. Most of them did not become extraordinary because they possessed some magical talent. They simply spent more time doing difficult things. While others avoided discomfort, they used it as training. And perhaps this is one of the most important questions you can ask yourself. When was the last time you chose something difficult when something easy was available? Because that is the exact moment agency is built. Not during convenience. Not during comfort. But in the moment you consciously choose a small dose of resistance. Every time you do, something invisible grows stronger. Your ability to govern yourself. And that ability is worth far more than most of us realize. Because one day, difficulty will come. There will be crises. There will be losses. There will be moments when life demands strength. And when that day arrives, you will not be relying on motivation. You will be relying on what you trained. What you practiced. What you slowly built through seemingly insignificant choices. That is how agency is rebuilt. One difficult choice at a time. Let's return to Mike. Tomorrow morning, the alarm will ring again. Hot water will still flow from the tap. The car will still be waiting in the driveway. The phone will still offer endless entertainment. The easy path will still be available. Just as it will be available to all of us. And that is not necessarily a problem. Comfort is not the enemy, convenience is not the enemy. Progress is not the enemy. The real question is something else. Who is in command, you or your impulses, you or your constant need for comfort? Because there is a world of difference between using comfort and depending on it. A sovereign person can enjoy the conveniences of civilization, but they are not controlled by them. They can function when conditions are not perfect. They can tolerate discomfort. They can delay gratification. They can choose what is difficult when difficulty is required. And perhaps that is one of the most important skills of the 21st century. Not producing more. Not consuming more. Not accumulating more. But governing yourself. The good news is that this capacity can still be built. It does not require extraordinary talent. It does not require wealth. It does not require special genetics. It is built the same way it has always been built. One choice at a time. One small act of resistance at a time. One small victory over yourself at a time. Perhaps you will never live through a war. Perhaps you will never face true scarcity. Perhaps you will never be forced to discover what you are capable of. But there is wisdom in preparing anyway. There is wisdom in building strength before it is needed. There is wisdom in practicing discipline before life demands it. Because when difficulty inevitably arrives, and it will, you will not be starting from zero. You will have built something. Something invisible. But incredibly valuable. Capability. Resilience. Self-control. Agency. And if you've made it this far, you've already taken a step that many people refuse to take. You looked directly at an uncomfortable idea. You considered the possibility that the easiest path does not always lead to the best life. And that matters. Because every meaningful change begins the same way. First, we recognize the problem. Then, we accept responsibility. And then, we begin to act. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Today. Maybe with a walk. Maybe with a workout. Maybe with a book. Maybe by saving a small portion of your next paycheck. Or perhaps with something even simpler. Making your bed. Former Navy SEAL and Admiral William McRaven became famous for promoting exactly this idea. Not because a made bed possesses some magical power, but because it represents a choice. A small victory at the very beginning of the day. A quiet reminder that you are capable of imposing order on your environment before facing the world. It seems insignificant. But meaningful change rarely begins with dramatic actions. It begins with small decisions repeated consistently. Making your bed will not transform your life. But it can represent something larger. A conscious choice. A small act of order instead of disorder. A small victory before you even leave the house. Because discipline rarely appears all at once. It is built through simple habits that seem almost trivial. And each one reinforces the same message. I am in command, not my impulses. Not my laziness. Not my circumstances. Because freedom is rarely won in a single defining moment. It is built slowly. Through hundreds of small decisions that almost nobody sees. Decisions that strengthen something excessive comfort tends to weaken. Your ability to govern your own life. And in the end, perhaps that is the true definition of strength. Not the ability to control the world, but the ability to control yourself.